Here to discuss both topics is former DNC president and steering committee member of the Black Church PAC, Bishop Leah Daughtry. Bishop Daughtry, welcome to the Black Report.
Yes, welcome.
Thank you. How y'all doing?
We are doing very well, staying healthy. Now, Donald Trump recently called the House of Worship essential businesses and called for them to open up this past weekend. Now, before we dive into that, let's take a look at what Trump had to say.
Today, I'm identifying houses of worship, churches, synagogue, and mosques as essential places that provide essential services. Some governors have deemed liquor stores and abortion clinics as essential, but have left out churches and other houses of worship. It's not right. So I'm correcting this injustice and calling houses of worship essential. I call upon governors to allow our churches and places of worship to open right now.
Now, Bishop Daughtry, what were your thoughts when you heard this announcement?
Oh, this man. Listen,
Right.
Let's just step back for a minute. When this pandemic began to escalate in the country, medical professionals and governors across the country asked him to use his authority to issue nationwide stay-at-home orders. He refused to do so. So the fact of the matter is, he never closed the churches, so he can't reopen the churches. It's hypocrisy at the highest level, where he is clearly playing to his white evangelical base by using the code words of abortion and talking about alcohol. The fact of the matter is, every state has had to make its own judgments because the president has provided zero leadership. Every state's governor has had to decide what is essential and non-essential in their states. What's essential in Atlanta is not essential in New York, and vice versa. It has been done on a state-by-state basis. Imagine where we would be if we had a president who had used his leadership and his bully pulpit to issue a nationwide set of guidelines. He did not. So now he's going to, because he is constantly campaigning, now he's going to use churches as his new thing to try to rally some folks around. Here's what we know in the Black church.
Okay.
This is not about the law. This is about love. And we know that while our buildings are closed, the church is open. And we have been doing the essential work of the church, feeding people, housing people, taking care of people, and telling people to stay home until it is time, until we know that it is safe for us to gather in person. We're gathering. If you know about last Sunday, we broke Zoom, and a couple weeks before that, we broke Facebook because everybody's having church at the same time. So this is not about us rushing to reopen. We know that it's not safe right now. And our first priority is the people that we have been entrusted by God to care for. So we will reassume in-person worship in our churches, our masjids, and our synagogues when we know that we can take care of the people under our care.
Right.
Wow. Okay, so now we understand that your churches are still going on through Zoom and stuff like that. Now with COVID-19, what are some other roles that your church wants to play? I know you want to feed, you want to be out there. What are some other things that you're doing as well?
Well, my denomination, the House of the Lord Church, we are, just last week, through our partnership with Black Church PAC and Live Free USA, we distributed 30,000 masks in Brooklyn, New York. We have another package coming in where we'll be distributing another 30,000 masks and hand sanitizer to communities who are the last on the list to receive PPE. We're also feeding 800 people a day. In Brooklyn, New York. And that's my church, but there are churches across the country who are doing the same thing. And we are doing the essential work. With November coming of voter education, voter mobilization. We can't tell people how to vote, but we can make sure that you have the tools to vote.
Yes.
So
Facts.
That's true.
Known in November for whoever your candidate might be.
Now, here's the question I have for you. What do you say to churchgoers who say, God did not give me a spirit of fear, and are pushing for pastors to reopen churches?
I would ask them if they locked their door last night when they went to bed.
Oh, I love your answer. I love it.
Did you leave your wallet on the porch? Did you leave your keys in the car? Why not? Because you were taking a appropriate precautions against those who might want to do you any harm.
Mm-hmm.
So the same thing goes for church. Why would you go somewhere where in close proximity to others? Look, I'm Pentecostal. I love a good service with a laying on of hands. It's just not safe right now. And I'm not going to have the house of God become a hotbed of infection because we don't know what all the science is about how we gather. And the part we do know says that gathering in person in close quarters is not a good use of our time and is not the calling of God on my life to care for the people under my auspices.
Yes. Now, we have an election coming up, and presidential candidate Joe Biden was recently interviewed by broadcast journalist Charlamagne Tha God, and it sparked a huge debate within the Black community. Take a look.
It's a long way until November. We got more questions.
You got more questions, but I tell you, if you have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, then you ain't Black.
It don't have nothing to do with Trump. It has to do with the fact I want something for my community. I would love to see.
Take a look at my record, man. I extended the voting rights 25 years. I have a record that is second to none. The NAACP has endorsed me every time I've run. I mean, come on.
Now, do you feel that the DNC and Joe Biden feel entitled to the Black vote?
You know, I don't think either feels entitled, neither the Democratic Party nor the Joe Biden. I think that oftentimes the Democratic Party and the people who run under the Democratic Party's banner have to be reminded of the value and the import of the Black vote. And that's why it is incumbent upon us to ask the kind of questions that Charlamagne was asking about what you're going to do for me if you are elected. You're asking me for my vote. And we're not unlike any other voting constituency in the nation. We have a set of issues and concerns that we care about, and we have the right to ask someone who wants our vote what they're going to do to address the issues that concern us. These sorts of things only come up when you're talking about Black folk. Nobody cares when the Latino people are asking, what are you going to do for me? And how come your stances aren't in multiple language? Nobody asks about women or any, but when it comes to Black people's vote, all of a sudden it's a problem for us to ask for what we want. And I think every candidate needs to understand that Black folks are the largest, most consistent voting bloc in the nation. We vote.
Yes, we do.
Yeah, we
want
sure
to
do.
vote. You got to tell us what you're going to do for us, because we are not stupid voters. And I reject the premise that we just vote for Democrats because we just vote for Democrats. No, we know how to size up a candidate and size up a platform and size up a policy and weigh and decide which one is closest to what we want. Now, Jesus is not on the ballot, so there is no perfect candidate. Everybody got an issue and a problem, and but we know how. We have survived this long in this nation because we know how to make decisions that are in our best interest. So I had no problem with Charlamagne asking the question. I thought Vice President Biden's answer was flip and a little too cavalier. I'm glad that he recognized that immediately and apologized. And I think we will see in the rest of this campaign him doing the necessary work to have an enthusiastic African-American electorate, because that's what he needs. He doesn't need a 2016 turnout, John Kerry turnout, or Al Gore turnout. He needs Barack Obama level turnout.
That's right.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's right.
And that requires an enthusiastic African-American electorate. And it sure would be helped by a Black woman as VP.
Speak on it. Now, do you think that with that, Biden is taking the Black vote for granted? And does the DNC as a whole need a Black agenda, or does the Black community need a Black agenda? Like, what are we looking at here?
I think, the vice president has put out a policy agenda for African Americans, which you can find on his website. I've gone through it very closely, and it addresses many of the issues that are concerns to us. People say, well, Black people can't agree on an agenda. We don't have. Yes, we do. We know what we care about. We care about good jobs that pay us a wage that allows us to take care of our family. We care about good schools.
Yeah.
We care about safe streets where our children can walk without fear of being arrested. We care about a good environment and good food. We want the same playing field, the same opportunities as everyone else. That's the Black agenda. Very basic. It's not complicated, and we don't need no convention to create one. So I look at candidates' policy agendas through those lenses. What are you doing to address economic fairness and economic opportunity? Safe public schools, clean air, clean water, and healthcare that is not emergency room healthcare. So I think the vice president has those in. I might not agree with every line, every jot, every tittle, but he's attempted to address those, and I think he's made a great first start. And we should do that as voters. Demand to see that a candidate address the issues that we care about.
Speaking of which, let's take another look at the interview.
And Black people saved your political life in the primaries this year. They have things they want from you, and one of them is a Black woman running mate. What do you say to them?
What I say to them is that I'm not acknowledging anybody who is being considered, but I guarantee you there are multiple Black women being considered.
And with that being said, how important is it to pick a Black woman as a VIP?
You know, I think I'm one of the women who initiated the first letter to Vice President Biden, on which 500 African-American organizational leaders across this country signed to say that we wanted him to pick an African-American, that it was time to pick a Black woman VP. He needs this because, as I said before, he needs an enthusiastic turnout. He needs Obama level turnout. And the only way you get that is through an enthusiastic Black electorate. Now, look, we are clear. The choice is Joe or Donald. There's no other option. So it's not like I'm not going to vote because Donald Trump is an existential threat to our communities. We cannot survive another 4 years of that man.
Oh, trust me. Yes, we know. We know. Latinos can't survive another 4 years of that man. You know?
But you need me to be enthusiastic. It's the difference between me turning in my mail ballot and me knocking on every door on the way to the mailbox to make sure everybody else has turned in their mail ballot. We got to be thinking about how we're going to get people to do above and beyond what they would normally do by casting their own single vote. And in order for me to do that, I need to understand that you're invested in our community, and a Black woman VP will get you there.
Yes, Bishop Daughtry, thank you so much for dropping this knowledge on us. We appreciate your views and insight, and we wholeheartedly thank you for stopping by the Black Report.
Thank you. Glad to be here.